Dark Black Series Carbon Edition.
Oryx? Hey, who names their limited edition after an extinct cow? Kia, that's who. Why do companies launch such cars anyway? I will tell you that later in this podcast. Today I'm actually going to get into action mode, action models. हाँ, यही है आज का topic. Yes, limited, sometimes not so limited variants of new models and sometimes very old models that the auto industry keeps dishing out to us on a regular basis. The latest one, BMW's pure impulse edition of the Z4 Roadster. But it's not all BMW or luxury. This is pretty much more common in the mass space. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why should you care? Right? Well, the thing is that sometimes some of these special editions are actually really interesting and they are completely worth your time. I'm talking about things that you see constantly coming at you in half-page newspaper ads, radio jingles, during the commercial break while the IPL is on, or even in large banners or billboards along new prominent flyovers in your city or outside airports. कहीं ना कहीं तो देखा या सुना होगा ना यार. Action models are basically special variants which are called editions that car makers will routinely keep launching to either boost sales of a not so hot model or try and lift the flagging sales of an existing model that has been around for a while, or simply to create action and excitement around its portfolio as a whole. Now, let me rattle off a few more of these so that you really understand what I'm talking about. Okay? The biggest offender or delighter in chief, depending on how you want to see this, और कौन? टाटा मोटर्स. वैसे ये ट्रेंड शुरू हुआ था शायद मारुति से. मारुति ने ही किया होगा. Yeah, I mean Maruti by default, right? Start of all trends. There was a time there was nobody else for the longest time. So yeah, way back when you had something called the Zen Carbon and Steel. Anyone remember those? But, coming back to the more recent times, Volkswagen really mastered the art of old wine, old bottle, new label. Or in fact, not even new label, just a little extra sticker even. So many action models came on the Polo, Limited TSI Edition, Turbo Edition, Matte Edition, Legend Edition, GT Sport Edition. And you can replace Polo with Vento. Same names apply. Or aajkal they're playing very similarly around with names like Edge and Trail, Exclusive, and of course, the perennial favorite, Anniversary Edition. Volkswagen used to have a Vento and Polo IPL edition also. That had rear entertainment screens and navigation. So what does that mean? Like, watch the match on your way to the stadium and use the maps to take you there? Kya logic? But of late, the champion of this has been Tata Motors. Dark Edition, Jet Edition, Gold Edition. So what does all of this really mean? और ये models क्यों आते हैं market में? I will tell you the reason why. Let's break it down. What you get are new or exclusive elements that may not be available on that model at all. So you get features maybe which are typically offered maybe on higher variants or more expensive variants. Or you could get a rebadged new variant with just some features mixed and matched from across the range. So the Tata Nexon, Harrier, Safari, Altroz all went dark a few years ago. And then they've kind of gone red dark also. Dark trim means some special badging, all black interiors with branded stitching inside, dark paint shades, of course, sometimes gloss black trim that you have on certain parts of the car inside and out. You get the idea. Now, they even had a stealth edition that's limited to 2,700 units. That was just some weeks ago. इससे होता क्या है कि मार्केट में एक पुल फैक्टर क्रिएट हो जाता है या फिर एटलीस्ट कंपनीज ये चाहती हैं. They want to create demand or an attractiveness. So when you say limited to just 2,700 units, there's a sense of urgency. Oh, this will run out or it will finish. And then sometimes the fence sitters or even people who are planning to buy a little bit later, they jump right in. In the case of Tata, in 2022, it was said that the dark editions made up almost 50% of sales for some of those models. Wow. Tata has also done the Crazy or Crazy. I don't know. It was KRAZ. That was the edition. They had a downtown. There was a camo. And then the tributes to our national reserves, Kaziranga edition and now the upcoming Bandipur edition. That's a nice twist. But all the way, it is done to create demand. Now, as models get older, the one hope for them is the facelift. That always happens, right? The mid-cycle makeover. या कुछ brands internally उन्हें LCI बुलाते हैं. Life cycle impulse, in case you're wondering. It is done to create interest once again in that brand, in that model. But even this, everyone knows, and that's common practice. So what I'm talking about today is not that. हुआ क्या है कि ये अभी पिछले कुछ सालों में हमने एक sales trend देखा है. Not for all models, but for most. An existing model, it does not really sell or doesn't really get the attention from the consumer that something new will get. जैसे मैंने कहा कि इस rules के काफ़ी exceptions हैं. Maruti Wagon-R. But all new. Now that term gets thrown around so loosely now. So does exclusive or limited, of course. Because buyers seem to respond to the word new. It somehow seems like it's better than the ongoing brand or it's better than the current car. And by that I mean that their marketeers are falling over themselves to get you that something extra. So, that's one reason why these impulse or action models are brought in. Because you can't invest in multiple facelifts, no brand can. It's easier to add like a new stripe or a fog lamp surround or even upholstery, chrome, new color on the inside, paint shade, rather than redesigning the car, even a minor redesign. Now, the other thing that brands do to move inventory, offer more features at a lower price. Jeep and Kia have done this quite consistently. Kia's Gravity offering on the Carens and on the Seltos, yes, Carens, not Karens, sits between, say, the HTX and the HTX Plus. But it offers things from that higher variant. So we're talking about Bose sound system or ventilated front seats. Everybody loves those. Or even a dash cam. Now, funnily, the Dream Edition from Maruti a few years ago on the Alto K10, Espresso, Celerio, that was based on the VXI trim, but it gave buyers one addition, pretty much, a reverse camera. अब इसमें ड्रीम वाली क्या बात है ये आप ही बताइए कमेंट्स में मुझे. बट कल रात मैं सपने में देखा कि मेरी गाड़ी में एक रिवर्स कैमरा है. आई डोंट नो व्हाट दे वर गोइंग फॉर. दीज नेम्स आर फनी, नो? ब्लैक स्टॉर्म एडिशन, थंडर एडिशन, नेक्सा ब्लैक, एबनी, कार्बन, the knights and the knights. That means like Sir Lancelot and Midnight types. The funniest was when Renault had a day and night, which featured black and white themed quids and tribers. Sandstorm Compass, that's another one. But then you at least get a unique sort of hood decal on that one. Oh, and then there's the Wind Song edition of the Swift. That's a winner. Oh, Wind Song. But my favorite, my absolute favorite, the Sonnet Aurochs edition. What the actual I mean, why? Why? The bovine ancestor of today's cows and bulls? Aurochs? I mean, I know Gau Mata and all, but in this case, it's literally Gau's Mata. No one knows that link or even what it means or even how to say it. Now, it features a beefier looking... I didn't mean that. Beefier looking. Where is beefier looking? Front skid plate, as well as tangerine accents on the front bumper, on the grille, door sills, rear skid plates, and on the center of the wheel caps. You also get semi-leatherette seats with silver stitching on both the beige and the black theme of the interior, I mean. Silver finish also on the door handles, the AC vents. So silver inside, tangerine outside. Yeah. But 40,000 rupees more than the HTX trim that it was based on. Go figure. अब आते हैं असल बात पर. Should you care? Should you buy one? Simple answer. Yes. Now these variants are worth your time and sometimes your money. Even if you have to tell your neighbor how to say Aurochs. ऐसा है, you end up getting better value, more or maybe better features, like a larger screen or red brake calipers, or even a dash cam. All nice to have things, and without paying crazy top variant prices. Now that's in most cases. Sometimes you of course have a variant which is above the top variant, which is a limited or an action model. You also could get a special color, like that 100th anniversary evergreen shade on the MGs some time ago. Very nice color. Or that Ranger khaki, another nice shade on the adventure editions from Hyundai. So it is a gimmick. It is done to help sales. But if you look closely, you stand to gain. Hope you understood now why these variants keep popping up on a regular basis. Now join me in thinking up some nice or clever or stupid names. Come on. Desert Storm Edition. I'm sure somebody's done that. Tiger Stripe Edition. Yeah, an EV could have a Planet Earth Edition. Or you could have a Fortuner with a Gady Edition. If you know, you know. Or a Dally Edition for the Dally boys and girls. Or a Lofty Edition for the Sobo types. Okay, fine. Aap apne aap bhejo. I'd like to see some of your options. Please comment. Now I have a bit more time here, so I decided that after explaining all of this to you and hopefully giving you some perspective on this, you might still have questions, so please ask those questions. But some of you asked a lot of questions on the last podcast that I've already posted. So I decided to take some of those questions because they might help others who are listening or watching. All right. So, here we go. Rohit Sabire writes, my budget is 10 to 11 lakh rupees, looking for safety, practicality, engine, performance, durability, efficiency. Kuch nahi choda bhai sahab aapne to. Only petrol though, he says. The cars in my list are Nexon, Punch, Skoda Kayak and Brezza. Rohit, what you haven't told me is highway or not, self-driven or not, and is it just you or a large family or not? But if I'm going to keep this kind of broad and all things considered, the Maruti Suzuki Brezza is your best bet. A facelift is expected later this summer, so you might want to wait a little if it's possible for you to wait. Next up, it's Siddharth Mishra. Great name. The question is, he says he's a first-time buyer. 12 to 13 lakh rupees is the max as far as budget goes, plus minus 5% max. Have a short and tight parking space and need a car for daily office commute in Mumbai, bumper-to-bumper traffic. Which car should I get? I have narrowed down the choices to the Amaze and the Kayak, but these cars offer very small rear space, so I'm confused what to choose. That's a very common dilemma. So by rear space, now I don't know if you mean the second row of the car or rear as in the cargo space. So if it is the second row, the Mahindra XUV 3XO, hands down, because it's based on a larger platform car that's been kind of cut down to a sub 4 meter. If it's the boot, then once again the Brezza or even the Hyundai Venue. Now between the cars that you have said, it would have to be the Amaze, I guess. Now I'll tell you why I say this. I'm guessing cargo space could be important for you, but that's not really it. It's also super reliable. It's a proven model. It's a very good bet as a first car, and it'll also give you decent resale value. The next question I've picked up is from Charlene Jain. I own a Creta diesel 1.6 SX Plus for about 7 years now. If I use a petrol car, then I'll get high BP with every week's tank up. Valid point. Diesel is like about technically 9 years validity in Noida. And so if I buy today, I might end up getting like a scrap certificate in the next few years. PHEV, no option. Strong hybrid, there's Maruti, but according to Charlene, not safe, and it's an old design. So what should I buy? There is more, where I get better mileage or in that latest car, which should have 15 years life. Please suggest. All right, so loved your post, actually, Charlene. Nice and detailed. Yes, now this diesel dilemma is very sad. I love diesel. And I believe all policies should be about tailpipe emissions, led only by that, and not blocking one fuel type over another so that environmental norms are not flouted. That said, the torque of a diesel is also somewhat replicated by an electric. So have you test driven any of those? The BYD Atto 3, for instance, is now really good value. Remember, there's a price consolidation. You got better, more attractively priced variants. And then, of course, there are the electric Creta and the upcoming e-Vitara. Now, it is expected to be better built since it's made in India for the world, and or it will be. And Maruti is also going now for higher crash safety levels. So maybe you can consider it. I would also say that if you do switch to petrol, turbo can be more fun to drive. So your thoughts? Please tell me at Sid Patankar. Now we move on to the next question. This is coming in from Prabhan Kate sir. I hope I'm not messing up all your pronunciations. Thank you for coming up with your first podcast episode on SUVs. You're most welcome. Very popular, no? Now, I would like to buy a 7-seater. Can you give me which one to buy? And I do prefer the Toyota Hi-Cross in hybrid. I'm not in the mood to go with the Invicto. So kindly let me know if I have made the right choice. Okay, so let's tackle this. It depends entirely on your needs, firstly. So yes, the Innova Hi-Cross is good, but I want to clarify that it's not an SUV, unless you're not calling it one. It's an MPV. If you refer to what I have talked about in the last podcast, the mid-size SUVs, those are your choices if you want an SUV. XUV 700, Hector Plus, Jeep Meridian, Hyundai Alcazar. On the MPV side, if you are okay with that, consider the Carens for much more budget consciousness, and the BYD E-Max 7 for great value. That's again assuming that you're okay with an EV. This is all besides that much pricier Innova, in case you want to consider that. Otherwise, nothing wrong with the Innova. Okay, moving on now to, let's take one more question before we wrap up. Anil Kenchgundi. Hi sir, my budget is 20 to 25 lakh. I run 2,000 kilometers per month. Personal favorite car is the Seltos Diesel Auto, and the Mahindra B6 as well as thrown into that mix, BYD Atto 3 Dynamic, which is the best car to buy. All right, turns out I'm maybe going to repeat a few of the cars here that I've already suggested. But look, here's the thing. If you have easy charging options and you can especially set up a charger at home, the electrics in this list really do sound good to me. But if you enjoy that torque of a diesel that I was talking about earlier and plan a lot of highway driving where maybe charging could become an issue, of course the Seltos is a very practical choice. It's now much better loaded and it comes with a lot of equipment. So keep your questions coming. My handle on Instagram and X or Twitter is Sid Patankar. Please drive safe. Please wear your seatbelts, front or back. And let me tell you, the next podcast is going to be about small hatchbacks, entry cars. Are they still relevant? Are they still exciting? I think so. Let me see what you all think. If you want to send in specific questions that you want me to take on that show, remember where to send them in, at Sid Patankar. Bye for now.